Let's start that again. This is Una Daly from the Community College Consortium for Open Educational Resources, and welcome to our first fall webinar. And as we typically do in the fall, we have a Back to Basics Finding and Adopting OER webinar, and we're just very pleased to have two great presenters on this topic, Heather Blicher from Northern Virginia Community College and Melissa Boland from the Institute. She's from OER Commons, but I'm going to let her do the initials on ISKME. And we're going to meet those folks in just a moment. Can everybody hear me out there? Thank you. All right. And once again, we're using Blackboard Collaborate today, and we want to thank the California Community College System for supporting CCCOER and giving us technical support on this. For those of you who might be new to Blackboard Collaborate, you should see a participants list on the left-hand side of your window. And if you scroll down, you should be able to see yourself in there as well as all the folks who have joined us. It looks like we're at 35 folks, so great turnout. Immediately underneath that, you should see a chat window. And that's where we're going to take most of the questions throughout the webinar. So please feel free to make comments and ask questions, and we'll answer those as we can during the webinar. And then after both of our presenters have completed, we will open it up to using the mic or the telephone for questions. All right. So here's our agenda. I'm going to give you a little overview. Actually, first of all, I'm going to introduce our speakers. I'm going to give you a little overview on the Community College Consortium for OER for those of you who might be attending for the first time. And then we're going to get right into the presentations, Finding and Adopting OER with a NOVA Librarian, which is Heather. And then we're going to get an overview of OER Commons. All right. If you haven't had a chance, I would suggest that you introduce yourself in the chat window to let other folks know who's online today. And I'm going to go ahead and start the introductions of our presenters today. So first I'm going to start with Heather Blicher. She is the online learning librarian at Northern Virginia Community College, which is quite a large community college in Virginia. And she works with students, faculty, and instructional designers to create embedded library services for a large distance learning program. And she was recently selected as a campus leader for the Virtual Library of Virginia's Open Textbook Network Initiative, and is a team member for the Achieving the Dream OER degree grant program in the Virginia Community College Consortium. So she's very well versed in what's happening in OER these days at community colleges. Heather?
Sure, thank you, Una. I'm really happy to be here to give you an idea of a librarian's approach to OER. So thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Heather. We're really pleased to have you. All right, next I'd like to introduce Melissa Boland. She goes by Mindy. She is the manager of OER projects and services at OER Commons, and she has over 15 years of experience in educational technology and publishing. And at ISKME, she manages a team of project managers, information management professionals, and designers who produce all of ISKME's OER products and services. And in addition to managing the team there, she also works with organizations and third-party distributors of content to further ISKME's mission through their OER products and services. And we're very pleased to have Mindy. Would you like to say a few words, Mindy? Mindy, your phone might be muted. Mindy, are you there?
Sorry about that. Thank you for having me. My name is actually Melinda, and I do go by Mindy. I work for ISKME on OER Commons and all of the different implementations that we do for schools and districts and organizations worldwide. Thanks for having me.
Great. We're so happy to have you as well, Mindy. All right. So the Community College Consortium for OER, our mission hasn't changed in the last 9 years since we were founded. We promote the adoption of high-quality open educational resources to enhance teaching and learning. And this is about giving faculty choices for their curriculum, and at the heart of it is improving student success. So over the years, we have grown. We're now in 21 states and one Canadian province. We're up in British Columbia, and we'd love to have you as a member as well, when that makes sense. So open educational resources, that's what we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to get right to that so that we have plenty of time for our presenters. So as I mentioned, this is a back to basics webinar. So the definition, the operating definition for the last at least 5 years is teaching, learning, and research resources that are released under an intellectual property license or reside in the public domain, which permits their free use and repurposing by others. So you probably know that open textbooks is a very popular area of open educational resources. But in addition to that, there's open courses, there's open videos, really anything, any teaching or learning tool or content that can be openly licensed. So it's a really wide swath. And one of the most compelling things, but it's certainly not the only reason to adopt open educational resources, but one of the most compelling things is the savings. And so here we have an example of a chemistry book. This is a very popular intro to chemistry book. And on the left-hand side, you see a copyrighted one, which has all rights reserved. It retails for about $232 from Amazon. And there's various options around ebooks. If you buy the ebook, it's $178. And there's an equivalent chemistry textbook, which has been very highly peer-reviewed from OpenStax. It's available free as an ebook, and the soft-bound print copy is about $50. So huge savings for students available through OER. And now, hopefully we've whetted your interest just a little bit. I'm going to turn this over to Heather Blicher to tell you more about how she supports faculty at her colleges, and within her programs to find and adopt open educational resources in their classroom.
Thank you, Una. And I see a lot of librarians present, so I'm excited about that. For faculty or librarians that are new to OER, it can be really overwhelming to throw yourself into the adoption of OER for your courses. So just as librarians in an academic environment act as a resource or a guide to students, we're also here to act as a resource to faculty. So if I can simplify that process for faculty, then I know I've done my job well. It's also an opportunity for librarians to become experts in this area in their own right. So I really like this quote from an article that I have cited there. Open education is an opportunity for librarians and libraries to lead institutional change by connecting people and resources in the most effective ways possible. And I think that's the key word there, effective. We don't want you to be scrolling around searching for different things when we can get you there faster. So I'm the online learning librarian at NOVA, and just to give you a really quick idea of what that is, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my job. I'm the librarian for all online students at NOVA, which basically means I'm the home base for library services for all online students. And that can range anywhere from 20 to 25,000 students per semester. I have an embedded program where basically library is a service, not a space. So I bring library services to the students to the point of need in their learning management systems in various ways. And then I also work with faculty and instructional designers in developing or redesigning OER courses. OER at NOVA, I was really fortunate to start working here about 2 years ago, and OER adoption was already underway. So digital open courses, you know, started out the movement here, and they were a series of high-impact online courses which only used OER-based instructional materials. That led to the digital open degree pathway, where students were able to earn basically 2 different associate's degrees or a general education certificate without buying any textbooks. And then that also led to the Z-Eli Zero Textbook Cost degree pathway, where NOVA partnered with Lumen Learning to release a complete digital open degree pathway so that other institutions can adopt OER and offer that zero textbook cost degree. And now currently, we are working on Achieving the Dream OER Degree Initiative Grant, which we received in collaboration with other community colleges in Virginia. So NOVA has a long history of OER, and we're just trying to keep building on those successes and learning from our experiences. So just to give you an idea of this semester, this current fall semester, the snapshot. So we have approximately 15% of our course sections are OER, and approximately 20% of our student enrollments are in OER. And that's only for our online OER courses. So it's a nice decent number. When it comes down to it, librarians and instructional designers are there to support faculty, and that is basically how I start looking at the process of finding and adopting OER. I know what my goal is, and that is to support the faculty. So here are 4 of the roles that a librarian can play in the adoption process. And we'll look at each of these separately. There can be many roles, but these are the 4 that I decided to go ahead and highlight. Librarian as researcher. There's so much content out there that it can be difficult to narrow down. So librarians can help you narrow your search, or even just show you where to get started if you have something specific in mind. So if you say, you know, I want a video on this particular topic, you know, we can tell you where to get started. Faculty are the content experts, but the librarian's job is to be able to guide you to a good place to start. And in looking at that content, you want to keep a couple of things in mind for the selection process. And we could spend an entire webinar on each of these, so I'm only going to touch on these briefly. But licensing is a legal document, so it doesn't apply automatically. It does or does not grant users certain rights to use that content. Now, a copyright exists without you having to do anything from the moment of creation. So if I decided to write an article and I haven't published it anywhere, it's on a piece of paper on my desk, that is actually copyrighted in a very informal way. And then accessibility is a really big topic that you want to pay attention to with OER selection. Again, this is only touching on a couple of things with the topic, but when you're using videos, you want to make sure they're captioned, And not only that, but you want to make sure they're accurately captioned. For example, when you're using something like YouTube to caption your video, you want to make sure it's accurate because it's sort of hit and miss. They've definitely gotten better with that. Materials need to be able to be read with a screen reader. Alt text needs to be used for images. And you want to make sure that there is an accessibility statement so that if for some reason a student is in the course and there's something that isn't accessible, that they know who to contact to say, hey, this isn't accessible, please do something about it. Librarian as curator. So what I've done at the moment, the easiest way for me to collect all of the different resources that I want to recommend to faculty, the easiest way for me to do that is through a LibGuide, which is software that librarians use to create essentially a website. So I don't know if you can see on the image how clear it is, but I have a tab there for repositories, open textbooks, journals, video, audio, images, pretty much everything. And generally, when I'm working with a faculty member, this is where I start because I want them to have one place that they can go to and have it be a place where they can, get answers to simple questions or difficult questions. Now, if you came to this webinar looking for a couple of quick places to start, here are some of those. And these are just personal preferences. If you go to that website directly, you'll see that I have lists that list several more of these. But for repositories, I have OERcommons.org. Textbooks, I really like to use OpenStax, and then University of Minnesota's Open Textbook Lab. Journals, the directory of open access journals. And images, my favorite is searching through the Creative Commons. I just saw a question from Quill West on the side there. I'm sorry, I haven't been checking the chat box as often as I thought I would. But Quill asks, when you're helping faculty find open materials, how do you decide when you've found enough? That is a really good question. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how I work with faculty, but it definitely starts with one-on-one, in-person, virtually, a meeting with that faculty member so that I know what they're looking for, because I don't want to overwhelm them with a ton of information and then maybe they'll use one thing out of there. So I really try to do a really thorough reference interview, and that way I know what they're looking for, I know what the goal of it is, and that way I can get it for them. But having said that, I always like to give them choices because faculty are the content experts. So librarian as educator. There are different schools of thought on OER, and I wanted to highlight this one, open versus free. Now within my institution, we use both. And if for example, I were using free resources, that refers to library resources. So the library at NOVA pays for a subscription for access to journals, videos, articles, ebooks. So it's called free, but it's not open because anyone in the world can access it. It's behind a firewall. Now, if we do create an OER course and we include library resources, what we usually do is create a placeholder so that if another institution wants to take that course and use it, they'll know, okay, there's a statement here that says we're using a library resource, you may or may not have access to it, or you may want to find a substitute at your own institution. And here's another chart just to look at. I like to highlight this because when it comes down to it, open, the term open, is important to faculty, right? We want to be able to say, you know, anybody in the world can use our courses and they're completely open, have at it. Free is what is important to students. So when it comes down to it for me, my first priority is the students at my institution. And then after that, I think about open. Now, one exception to that is with the Achieving the Dream grant, all of our resources must be open. So it's definitely something that I keep in mind. And then librarian as content creator. I think sometimes librarians can fall into stereotypes, and librarians of today are definitely not that stereotype. So we are creating content that is used in courses all the time. And one of the things that I do is I create videos because my students are all online. And they can be, you know, brief tutorials on how to use a particular database, or how to tell the difference between a scholarly journal article versus a popular article, or they can be just simple recordings of webinars because I know students can't always make live webinars. So what I do with those is I collect them again in one location, and that way if a faculty member would like to embed those within their courses, I can get to them quickly, but the faculty can as well. So in supporting OER adoption, this probably touches on what I've already talked about a little bit, but it really is, for me as a librarian, one-on-one consultations, whether it's in person or virtually. That really gives me a good sense of what I'm researching. I also do in-person and online presentations and workshops. Sometimes they're, you know, well planned in advance, or sometimes, you know, I have to have a, you know, a quick spiel ready just for on the spot if a faculty member drops by. I also act as the copyright go-to, and I'm not a copyright expert by any means, but I do keep a lot of links and you know, to websites that I trust, that I've gotten information from, just so that I can consult those really quickly and give the best answer that I can. Staying up to date on the topic is really important, and that LibGuide that I showed you, I'm always looking for the latest resources. I'm always trying to add resources that could help. And then, of course, marketing your support through email and websites. A lot of faculty don't realize that they have this source, this librarian, who can help them out. And you know, it's just so important to make sure, excuse me, that they know that I'm here. Otherwise, they'll you know, they'll tackle it themselves, which is fine. And a lot of faculty that I know are really great at researching, but for those that are new to it, I just want to make sure they know that I'm here. So that is my quick overview from a librarian's perspective. And I guess I'm wondering if there are any questions that I missed in the chat box.
There were some questions, and I can repeat a few for you that came in a little bit earlier. We'll try and do it in the order that you asked the questions, our audience asked them. If we missed one, just enter it again now or at the end. So John asked, do all the do all the sections of your courses that use OER use the same material?
That's a really good question. I think, well, currently the online courses, we did have a standardized approach so that no matter which faculty member was teaching the section, they had a specific set of resources. But the faculty member could also add if they wanted to. There was that freedom. So they started out with a standardized, course, and then they could tweak it as they felt that they wanted. But we're starting a pilot project where, faculty definitely have expressed that they want more control, more ability to change up the course the way that they like. So we're going to try that. I'm not sure how it will affect me, because I can definitely see where that will overload me with requests and questions, but I'm just going to see how it goes and play it by ear.
Great. So we had a question from Jim about your student information system. I think it was a question about can students identify if OER courses are available, or if a course has a section with OER available when they're registering?
Yeah, that's something that we're actually working on too. We're always a work in progress. When they search for OER courses within the online catalog, they have to, at the moment, they have to scroll through and read for a statement that says this is a digital open course, no textbooks are required. But what we're working towards is to have the ability to separate out OER courses so they can just search through those and know that they are OER without looking for that statement. But it's still in process.
Okay, great. We had a number of questions around copyright. Paige was asking if you have one person who looks at copyright issues, or if there's a team of folks within the Institute, the Extended Learning Institute, that look at copyright.
At the moment, no. It's the easy answer. At the moment, of course, everyone at the Extended Learning Institute, instructional designers, and I'm the only librarian at the moment, we try to stay well-versed in that. But when it comes down to it, we don't have one specific person to go to. And I definitely rely on my colleagues. If there's a tricky question, I'll definitely reach out and ask. But down the road, I think that's something that we're really hoping to put into place. That would be great to have.
All right. We're going to have to switch here. It looks like we have a few questions to come back to. Okay. At the end here, we want to get on to our second our speaker, but I want to thank Jim and I think Alan, who also posted additional questions, and we'll try and get back to those. So thank you so much, Heather, for that excellent presentation about the amazing role that librarians can play in supporting open education at your college. And now I'd like to switch this over to Mindy Boland, who is going to talk to us about how to use the OER Commons toolset. And I think you'll be surprised by how many features OER Commons has added in the last year, in addition to their amazing search capabilities. So Mindy?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Heather. That was great to learn about your processes. Okay. To the next slide. So yeah, today I want to talk about finding OER, using OER Commons. As some of you may be aware, OER Commons is a digital public library of open education resources that was created by ISKME, which stands for the Institute for the Study of Knowledge Management in Education. And the idea around ISKME was to focus on improving the practice of continuous learning, collaboration, and change in the education sector. OER Commons launched in 2007, and we are continuing to expand our functionality and our library. So it's exciting to see how OER has really kind of exploded in the last year. So that's cool. So I'm going to just walk through some of the ways that you can find OER on our site using our search and browse tools and some ways that you might not have thought of. Just a little bit more about OER Commons. We have over 400 content providers and have indexed over 65,000 resources. We have a web infrastructure that supports educators at all levels, meaning that we do K through 12 and higher ed and continued learning on OER Commons. We integrate with multiple kinds of LMSs, and we host content on OER Commons that can be authored using our authoring tools as well as indexing content from other sites. So partially we're an authoring platform, and partially we're trying to be the one-stop shop for finding OER. So we don't have to build it for you to find it there. So we recently redesigned the homepage on OER Commons, and acknowledging the fact that most people come there looking for resources, which should seem obvious enough. So we really wanted to highlight the search bar here at the homepage, right at the top of the page. You can see across the center there that you can do a keyword search, and you can even start filtering your search around subjects and education levels right there from the home page. And some people ask us, when I type in a keyword, what am I searching? Here you go. You're searching the title and the abstract or description. You're searching the keywords and tags that have been added to resources, the material type, the subject, the provider, and the author. So all of those fields of our database are searched with that keyword field. Once you get to the search results page, as you can see here, you can filter your returns again. There are a number of different filters here on the left. I couldn't put them all in because then we wouldn't really be able to see. But you can also see the filters that you've selected across the center of the screen there, and you can remove filters if you want to as well. So it's very flexible and easy to sort of refine your search after you get to that results page. These are the filtering options on that results page. So one thing I'm seeing in the chat, and I saw earlier from Jim, was the question of non-Creative Commons OER. And one thing that we have when you find resources on OER Commons, sometimes it says read the fine print. And that means that it may not be a Creative Commons license, but it does have an educational use license, and you can usually find the specific copyright page that would be associated with that resource. So another way to search for resources on OER Commons is the advanced search page, and as you can see, it's quite robust. I have hidden some of the underlying filtering options just to provide so you can see all of them. But some of the things that I thought you might be interested in seeing here, for example, we have the accessibility filters down here on the bottom right. The conditions of use, where you can limit your search based on the Creative Commons license. We also have evaluation rubrics that you can use to see how other people are using and evaluating the resources. So I know that quality is often a question, and that's a great way to sort of limit your view based on what other people have said. So there's that. Why would you use advanced search when you have such a great search on the front page? Well, you might not know exactly what you're looking for. You may have the purpose. Maybe you've done your reference interview and you have some kind of general ideas about what you're looking for, but you don't really know. You have specific rights requirements. You want to find a resource that's been commented on or evaluated, or maybe it's high use. You know a lot about what you want, but you don't know what it is yet. And lastly, you're a librarian, because we know librarians understand how to really leverage the power of advanced search. So some other ways to find quality OER on OER Commons is to browse some different areas of the site. Our digital librarians curate collections not only based on themes or topics that are of interest to our users, but also for themes and topics that might have been developed for a hub. So a hub is a site on a page on OER Commons where an organization, maybe a district or a consortium or a school, have sort of aggregated OER, and often they'll tell us that they're interested in a specific topic and have us, our digital librarians, go and curate some OER to make a collection for them. We also have a feature on OER Commons that we call Groups, and this is available to anyone, any registered users. And it allows for a community of practice or just a group of people who want to work together to collect and organize OER and share it amongst themselves. But it's also available and visible to anyone on OER Commons. So maybe if you know of a school that's kind of similar to yours, maybe has a similar student body, and you can look and see what resources are they using, and that's another way to find high quality OER. Again, going to a hub is a great way to browse collections that have been created by the librarians at OER Commons. Also, you can see some groups that might be included on those hubs. And finally, you can browse by provider. So we have a number of different providers, as I said earlier, about over 400 providers on OER Commons. And if you know that you really love Khan Academy videos, then you can browse by Khan Academy and look at the videos there. And you may ask, why don't I just go to Khan Academy? And what I would say is, this way you have other options in addition to Khan Academy, and you can see and provide back comments and evaluations and ratings so that you can kind of add more value and more information to share with others who might be using those resources. So just to dive a little bit deeper, you can see all of the curated collections on OER Commons on the collections page. And so this is what that looks like. You can see down here we've got some topics that we have done sort of in-depth curating around. And lower down on the screen you can see all of the collections that have been created for different hubs. So as I was saying, curated collections focus on a theme or grade or topic and include a vetted selection of OER. We create them internally, or we create them for our partners. When we develop a hub for an organization, for instance, we recently developed a hub for Michigan colleges online. We worked together with them to construct the queries to meet the needs of their organization and their goals, but we also gave them some tools so that they can go and add resources to those collections as they find ones that meet their criteria. Here is an overview of some groups. You can filter groups by subject and by grade level, and you can also search them. So again, a group is available to anyone. So if there was a department at a school, for instance, that wanted to create a group and start finding resources, or if a librarian wanted to set that up for a department at a school, this is a really easy and no-cost way to do it. I should also say that we can provide an LTI access to a group. So if you have done a lot of curating of resources in groups, then we could provide you with LTI for that group, and you could access those resources in your LMS. So then just kind of reiterating what I just said, we also have discussions on our groups so that you can have conversations about resources. You can also, if you are using our authoring tools, you can share resources in draft form with members of your group so that you can work asynchronously or collaborate on developing new resources. And again, anyone can look at another group's collection. So if you want to see what other groups are doing and what resources they might find of value, that's something that's available. These are the OER Commons hubs. And you can see here there's a pretty wide variety of hubs here. And some of them are at the state level. Some are statewide community colleges or consortiums. And some are topics that we felt were of particular interest, like Common Core or STEM literacy. So we will go out and create hubs as well to meet the needs of our users. Open textbooks is a big one that we found. People were coming to OER Commons, and one of our biggest search terms was textbooks. So we thought that we should go out and curate what the textbooks that we have on OER Commons and develop a hub around that. So basically a hub is a centralized location on OER Commons where an organization can aggregate and collect specific collections, groups, or resources. As I said, we sometimes create hubs ourselves. But what I like to say is that a hub is a way for an organization to highlight high quality OER that's been vetted and meets the goals of that organization. So it's kind of, you can control a little bit. I mean, it's all available, but this really says, we've looked at these and these are good, so use them. So as I was saying earlier, the statewide hubs, we've got Michigan Colleges Online, this should say Minnesota, and Alamo Colleges. We also have our topical hub, so probably of interest to this group would be the Open Textbook Hub. And also now we've been partnering with some other OER providers, and we are working with OpenStax, developed an OpenStax hub for people who use their books and create supplemental resources to accompany them. This is their community site and where those people can post and share the content that they're creating to support the OpenStax textbook. So each textbook has a group, and they have been going out to their adopters asking them to share back the resources that they're using to support those books. Lastly, here is the provider page. You can easily see where all the providers are, and you can just browse them and go and see the resources that they have. And that is the end, although I was planning, if it's okay, to go and show a live hub if you think that would be.
Yeah, absolutely, Mindy. Yeah,
okay.
Please do show something.
I will then. Let me figure out how to do it.
Actually, I think you probably want to go to the middle one, which is the application.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. It's not showing up. That's just the way.
Do you have to?
Oh, there it is. It's there now. It's a little shy. Okay. Can y'all see OER Commons here?
It's coming up. Yes, it's just taking
okay.
There we go.
Well, I'm going to move directly to the hub stage. So this is the live website, and I wanted to share with you guys, I think probably the Michigan Colleges Online hub, which we've done working with them. They have 28 community colleges in Michigan and wanted to provide a way to sort of collect the work that's being done in the OER space across those colleges, and they've done that here on this hub. So I'm going to talk a little bit about just hubs generally, and then we can look at what they've done here. When you have a hub on OER Commons as an administrator, you have this hub settings link, which allows you to control the images, the logo, the copy that's displayed, the groups that are displayed. Kind of, you get the keys to the kingdom on the hub and can manage that. For all users, they can search the hub resources. So these are resources that have been specifically added to the hub, whether in a collection or through a group. You can see here that Michigan has created collections specifically around disciplines. And what we've done with them is provided them with a keyword so that when they find additional resources that they want to add to these collections, they just have to tag that resource with the keyword. And then using the groups feature, they have created these great groups around each college. So they have, this one has 7 resources, so they just started. But you can see here, this is Lansing Community College, and they have been collecting their resources. We've also been working with the librarians at these colleges, giving them our metadata schema template so that they're able to bring in sort of a larger quantity of resources at a time. So if they have been collecting or curating or developing OER, we can bulk upload that to their group. But you can see here, it's really just a nice, straightforward view of the colleges, and then we have some video tutorials. We've done some webinars with them about how to use the hub or how to use our authoring tools, and it's all right here for them. So that is the Michigan Colleges Online Hub. And now going back, I wanted to show you the Open Textbooks Hub. So we've organized this hub in a couple of ways. We did a number of collections around disciplines in higher education. So, you know, if you're a biology teacher, you can go to the biology collection and find books that would relate to your work. We've also created collections on those same topics of supplemental resources. You know, we have so many wonderful resources on OER Commons that aren't complete textbooks but may really complement a book. So we wanted to include those here so that they could be easily located. And then we also created the collections around the providers. So if you know of a specific provider that you'd like to use, you can find those here as well. And I think that should probably do it. I can also touch on quickly the OpenStax hub, since you know there's a lot of people that are interested in OpenStax here. And I think they've done a beautiful job creating this hub and really sort of guiding their community into how to use it and how to add content to it. So you can see here each of their books has a group. And when you go into the group, you can just contribute to it by suggesting a resource or submitting resources this way. There's also a discussion feature. So people, you know, if everyone's using the OpenStax introductory type statistics book, maybe they want to talk about it, and we're providing a place for them to do that. And I think that does it for me. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Una.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mindy, for showing us that. Not only how to search with OER Commons, I've learned about a lot of great new filters that I wasn't aware of before, and just the hubs and the groups are, I think, are really really compelling features that I think our members may be interested in pursuing. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Are there any questions?
You know, I'm gonna open it up for questions. I was looking. Let's see. I was looking at. I think most of them got answered. Amy was answering some of them.
Oh,
thank you, Amy.
Perfect.
Mindy's a colleague. I'm going to let you take a look at those. Mindy, you can backtrack in the chat window while I just have a couple of slides here. I want to talk about some upcoming conferences for folks, and then we'll take it straight to Q&A. So for those of you who are new to the open education community, you might not be aware of these conferences. There's a big open education conference this fall in Richmond, Virginia. It's the Open Ed 2016 conference, and I'm not sure if this is the 13th or 15th annual Open Ed conference. Somebody will correct me in the chat window, I'm sure. It's about the 6th one that I'm attending. And registration is still open. That's early November, November 2nd through 4th, and this is an amazing one, particularly for US-based folks. We also have an amazing, the Open Global conference, which is in Cape Town, South Africa this spring, and it is celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the OER Declaration in Cape Town with UNESCO and all the global partners in open education around the world, and that's in March. And if that's something that you would like to pursue, proposals are still being accepted through October 17th. And the Open Ed Consortium, which is our parent organization, is the host for that conference, and we'd love to see you. And if you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask me. And just keeping you in the loop, this fall, we will have a meeting in 2 weeks, which is our CCCOER advisory meeting. This is a follow-up to this webinar. We're going to take this discussion further. This is a more informal meeting, and we'd like to invite you to join us for that. It's an opportunity to network and share with other OER folks. And our next webinar will be October 12th. That'll be Wednesday, October 12th, the same time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and it will be on understanding open licensing. And that will be with Quill West, the president of CCCOER, and I know many of you know the amazing Quill West. We will also have Creative Commons folks and some other experts online. So it'll be a great one to dig into how to use open licensing and how to understand it. And now I want to just take this to Q&A so that we can answer more questions from our attendees. And I want to once again thank Heather and Mindy for their amazing presentations. I want to thank our audience here. You've had some great questions so far, and we enjoy answering those and looking forward to more of them. Okay. Mindy, did you see any questions in the chat window that you would like to answer live as well?
I think that Amy was doing a great job backing me up in the chat window. I will say that if you are interested in learning more about hubs on OER Commons, or would just like to take a deeper dive with me into OER Commons platform, just feel free to email me. My email is here on the screen, mindy@iscme.org.
Great. Great. Thanks for that, Mindy. There was a question earlier from Alan B. And Alan was asking, this was during, actually during Heather's portion of the presentation, asking about assessment of textbook-based courses, which I assume you meant traditional textbook-based courses versus OER. And I think that was directed at you, Heather, if NOVA has any studies at this point about different student outcomes based on OER versus traditional textbook-based courses.
That's a great question. At the moment, I'm not aware of any official projects tracking that, but of course our instructional design team works really closely with the faculty, and so they're working on both the traditional textbook courses as well as the digital open courses. So I'm sure there's probably something in the works that I'm probably not aware of.
And I know that there was some early work done, Heather, at NOVA. I know that Preston Davis, who is the Director of Instructional Curriculum at the Extended Learning Institute, who has led the OER projects there, I know that he has some numbers on that. I don't know if Preston's online here, but there is some information about that. I also, Alan, earlier I directed you to the Open Ed Group website. They do a lot of research on OER as well, and you'll find some really comprehensive not only journal articles but presentations on this topic. And I'll put that link in. I'll put that link in the website. In the chat window here one more time, because I think this is probably of interest to a lot of folks. Yeah. Try that. OpenEdGroup.org, and they're run out of Brigham Young University. But some excellent OER research there for you. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. All right, and Quill. Let's see. I'm not sure that we had any other questions, so I want to ask you if I missed your question earlier, if you please repeat that, or you can actually grab a microphone by pressing the talk button, and you can speak live and ask a question of our presenters or other experts here.
Una, if it's okay, I'd like to say something really quickly.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
please
so
go ahead, Heather.
there are so many librarians here today that I just want to throw it out there. If you're new to OER and you're interested in talking to another librarian that's also working on various projects, feel free to get in touch with me. It's always nice to network and talk with librarians in similar situations to compare notes. Especially when you're the only librarian working on OER in a particular institution, it's nice to have a support group. So I just want to throw that out there, get in touch with me. I'd be really happy to talk to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Heather. And Heather's email is here inside on our last slide here, hblicher@nvcc.edu. So once again, I want to thank my amazing presenters, Mindy and Heather. Thank you so much for this information today. I think it was just the right information at the right time for a lot of folks who are building their OER programs. And I think we're going to close this off now. We did have one last question here from Denise. There have been studies comparing the quality of OERs and traditional print textbooks. Denise, that's a really interesting question. So when we talk about quality of OER and traditional print textbooks, quality tends to be a fairly subjective metric, and unless you have a rubric, and then rubrics tend to vary quite a bit between different publishing groups. So we look more at effectiveness of OER versus traditional print textbooks. How are students doing with those OER materials versus traditional textbooks? How do faculty like using those? And early research is showing a very positive outcomes from those. And once again, I'll direct you back to Open Ed Group. I don't know of anything that specifically addresses your previous question, and I think once again, it's a tough one to answer. But please, anyone else jump in and feel free to add to that. All right. Well, thanks so much. And I think you've got everybody's contact information, so I'm going to turn off the recorder, and we'll be here for a few more minutes if something else pops up.